Ladies and gentlemen, the boys are back in town. I am back, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in crime, pro golf critic, Jay. How are you?
Doing well. Happy to have you back, Ben. I know it's been a tricky last couple of weeks for you, but yeah, glad to have you back in the fold.
And our new member of the family kind of flirted around the edges with us for a little while, kind of gently teased us whether he wanted to do it or not. But we've got a full-time Red Harrington. Red, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, guys. How are you? Ben, I'm happy to see you back as well. And yeah, happy to be here. Looking forward to whatever we can get done.
Well, look, Jay's going to talk a little bit more about you and LIV and Greenbrier, and you're going to talk about Greenbrier in a minute. But I just want to open up. I wanted to say, I won't get emotional, but as regular listeners will know, my father passed away 2 weeks ago. And obviously a savage time for anyone to go through. And regular listeners will know that for the sort of 2-3 months before he passed away, that we were a bit irregular in our broadcasting and our podcasting. And just because my diary was nuts. I run a firm, which meant I've been in London a lot, and also if I wasn't in London, I was back at home with my mum and dad, helping my mother look after my father towards the end of his illness. But I just want to say thank you to, I haven't counted, but I'm going to guess over 120, 125 people have reached out. And what's been amazing in many respects, how many people reached out that you might think are on the opposite side of the aisle to us. And the amount of people that have said kind words and shared their stories. And there's, I won't say his surname because it's not fair, but Stuart will listen or definitely will catch this, I'm sure. And there's a guy called Stuart who I get on with really well. And he's not a massive fan of LIV. He's not anti-LIV, but he checked up on me every day for like 5-6 days, checking how I was.
Yep.
Like, what an incredible thing to do. And I know, Jay, that there's a lot of people that give you a lot of shit. They give you a lot of shit all the time. And look, you are inflammatory. You do go for the jugular and you don't give a shit, right? But if anyone wants to criticize you as a human being, I'll die on that hill defending you. You've checked up on me. You make sure I'm okay. You ring me. You message me. You were there. You were there with me when I got the phone call from the hospice saying my father didn't have 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks left to live, as we were told. He had maybe 5-6 days. Turned out he had 7. You were with me when I got that phone call. And I just want to say, while I know you rub people up the wrong way, and we don't always agree, you're a good friend. And for people who want to come at you and say nasty things about you as a person, they couldn't be more wrong.
No, I appreciate that. Unfortunately, a lot of people know I've been through something similar with my mom, who passed away 10 years ago, and it was very, very. It was a little different because it was a little more sudden, even though she had been sick for a while. So it's like, no, obviously we follow golf, and we have really strong opinions on golf, and I think it's just important to always keep in mind that like. As much as I disagree with people about golf and sort of the direction it needs to go in, like we're all humans. We're not bots, as people like to call us sometimes. And I think that there's a lot of opinions out there about me, and I'm like I said, like I have no problem with people giving me a shit, because it's like I'm built for it. No one's better prepared for it than I am, but at the same time, it's like we're all humans, and we all have things we have to deal with, and supporting you, Ben, has been a really important thing for me, because obviously, I've met some of your family now, and I know it's a difficult time, so I was happy to hold things down, hold down the fort while you were away, and just sort of help you through it as best I can. So.
I might jokingly refer to you as Paris Hilton, because you're almost two characters. Your actual pro golf critic is inflammatory and doesn't care and just goes at people. But Jamal is a really nice human being.
I mean, it's funny. Just to be clear to everybody,
I love that. I'm so happy with that comparison.
I appreciate you saying that. However, there's a lot of people that try to say that I'm two-faced too, but I'm not. So I want to make that clear, that who I am as pro golf critic is the same.
Yeah. It's not two-faced. It's that you're a very kind, loving human being who has got an abundance of care for other people, but also you'll state your opinion. You don't really care if you ruffle feathers. Anyway, why don't you tell us more about our new? No, we're talking about family. Let's talk about our new brother. Let's talk about Red Harrington, because what we've got is we've got a range of beards that go on. Like, you shaved yours off, which absolutely. When I saw that on YouTube, I was like, where the hell? Jay's got 15 years younger. Like, this is absolutely mental.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was time. Summertime, I like to sort of switch it up. Like I've sort of mentioned on the last podcast with Bob Ball, I'm starting a little bit of a new routine coming up here, a new health journey, and this was kind of a symbolic, switching of the just sort of changing lanes a little bit. So I'll probably bring the beer back. It'll go away.
Don't tell me you've gone gluten-free. Don't tell me I got you to go gluten-free, because I'll be so happy if I have.
I have not. However, it is something that I'm starting to incorporate. I'm testing some things out. I've got some goals that I'm not really going to reveal right now, but I have started to do a few things new, but we're going to save that for another time. We're not really going to go into it now.
Also, something I've not said about, I've known Jay now for 2 years. Jay rocks up to pick him from the train station. He's 2 inches taller than me. I'm 5'11". I just thought you were about 5'8". I had no idea. I had no idea you were over 6 foot. I was like, bloody hell.
Yeah, 6'3". So people don't know, and I don't want to get into my measurables, but definitely on the size of a linebacker, in between a linebacker and a defensive end, in terms of like if people want to.
I was thinking more offensive guard, but that's okay.
No. He's an edge rusher. He's quick on his feet. He's quicker than you think. I've seen it.
Yeah. I'm all about the fast twitch muscles. Don't have a ton of endurance, but I could get to the quarterback quickly. So no, I did want to touch on a little bit. Obviously, you and I, Ben, have been talking for the last 2+ years. We've had plans for Golf Lovers United in terms of how we wanted to continue to build it. And Red and I, we met, I guess it was about a year ago in person. Like, we had been talking online for probably about a year, because we've been building this cool community of like-minded people that just love golf. And it was very clear to me from day one, Red, I've met very few people that love golf as much as you do. So you're certainly someone that, like, we wanted to sort of bring into the fold. And we were kind of chatting in Miami like a year ago, talking about like how we wanted to sort of get you more involved in GLU. And I think that your knowledge and passion of golf is something that comes through with every Twitter Spaces that we do, every podcast that we do. And it's been kind of a process. And obviously, like we've mentioned a lot of times, LIV has been really, really great to us in terms of granting us access to, as media, to LIV events, and anyone that's sort of associated with GLU sort of gains that access as well. And Red, you were someone that we've entrusted the keys to the kingdom, if you will, with, and you've totally knocked it out of the park. And we really appreciate everything that you've done. And we're looking forward to having you sort of come in and contribute more. So thank you again for everything that you've done to date, except there's a lot more to come to.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's mutual, honestly. I mean, just a privilege and honor to kind of be on here with you guys, and also be able to represent you guys on the ground. And I just think it's kind of a perfect marriage of you have the West Coast, I'm Southeast, Ben, you're on the Europe beat. So we get a little bit of everything. And with an international tour, maybe we're going to have to find somebody in Asia or something to help us out.
Australia. But, I've got a couple Australian candidates that have been trying to come in. So that might be a good
perfect. One. Yeah, no, but I love, as you said, I love the game. I love bringing the game to people, and it's just been a pleasure kind of being able to do that. And especially with LIV, they have really opened their arms to us and to me, especially too. And I've never thought I would ask almost 10 major championships questions in the last couple weeks. So, it's just been unbelievable experience, and I can't thank you guys enough for involving me. So
you have to now stop saying you guys, because it's now us.
Us, y'all.
So one of the things that I've asked Red to do, and how this bizarrely, the one thing I asked Red to do 5 months ago, he still hasn't done. You haven't. I
What's
asked you
that?
to. I asked you to course reviews, course
Oh, I
previews.
know, I know. I was actually thinking about that today. I
So
liked, and I need to get back into those next year. I think I just got a
yeah.
little.
So I think one of the things that Red does, and people don't know, but Red's in many ways an agronomist, a lover of all things golf. But he loves golf course architecture and golf course design. Maybe I'm more in the history than Red, but Red's definitely in the modern and loving all areas of golf course design. And Red did a fantastic video. I don't know, I want to say 4 or 5 months ago, as a preview for an event. And I actually think that one of the things I'd like us to be able to do is to get those previews out, stores them in our YouTube. So when they go back to a course, we've already got one recorded, and when it's a new course, we can do a new course.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be really good, and I hope people will enjoy those. It's very different in our sort of the 4 lanes of what we do. We call this our golf politics show, which is obviously what it is. And we'll have our course reviews, which Red will do. We'll also have our sort of preview and review shows, which tend to drip into the podcast, the politics podcast, but we might try and separate those out a little bit more, and also interviews. And that's kind of going to be the 4 lanes in which we travel. And obviously we can do it across all of those, can get guests in at different times, do different bits. But the golf politics show might end up being sort of twice a month during the season, because reviews will get sprinkled in and out. So you'll get your fill of us as well with a review. But the preview course guide, that's going to be YouTube only, because that's going to be Red doing his bit, doing his editing and looking at the course and the holes. So hopefully you guys can be excited by that. But look, you went to Greenbrier, you asked questions to major winners. And look, I looked at the results of Greenbrier before we get into your review of it. I looked at the results of Greenbrier, and what stood out to me, and this is going to sound daft, is that nothing stood out to me, in the sense that sometimes you go, oh, it's the guys that drive it really straight. It's the guys with short games. It's the guys with the best irons. The guy. You look at that. You look at that top of the leaderboard, and you got Brooks and Jon Rahm, who are just quality. And Kokrak, who hasn't had the best season at all, came in third. Leash, who hasn't been brilliant all year, came in fourth. Blandy, who's just Mr. Consistent. Munoz, who hasn't had a great year. Lucas Herbert, who's been good back half the year. Then you got Louis, Sergio, and Cam Smith in eighth place, who've had good years. It didn't seem to me to be a course that was just suiting X. It actually was a course that seemed to be suiting those players in the richest vein of form on those 3 days.
Definitely.
Would you say that was right, or am I completely barking up the wrong tree?
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, I don't think there was one, length obviously helps with a shorter course like that, but there wasn't a whole lot of area you could take a complete advantage of that. And you saw a lot of guys who were just hitting solid golf shots and rolling them in the hole. And, that was really it. Not a lot of, the traps were well placed, but they weren't going to get you in too much trouble. So you didn't have a ton of emphasis on scrambling. And it was a really first time I've seen that golf course. It was really great to be on site. It's an older golf course. I don't want to get into it with you guys. We could go on for hours about this, but it would be a golf course I would love to see that a ball with less flight was used because of some of the quirks that they were able to fly over. But all that being said, I think it played to the par that was there that week, especially with the soft conditions. And you saw a lot of guys attacking and making, good holes after good hole went out there. So
Yeah. One of the things that we actually talked about in our spaces that we had it pretty much completely dialed in was talking about winning score, and I think we had sort of nailed it as like 18 under,
Yep.
and 19 under one. So I mean,
Yep.
it was right there. I think that course, I get your point about the ball roll back, and we're not going to go into that.
No,
We
we're not
are
going to.
on completely opposite sides of the fence when it comes to the rollback stuff. So we're not going to go there. However, I will say, like, this is one of those courses that, like, it goes to show you, like, it's a relatively long course, except because these guys are so good, and whenever conditions are soft, and there was a fair amount of rain during the tournament,
Oh yeah.
that definitely impacted scoring a good bit, and I think that was the reason why scores were a little low. Except, I mean, it's just going to be that way pretty much anytime you play there, because like the weather conditions are usually going to be, there's almost always going to be some sort of rain or showers or thunderstorms, no matter when you play there. So like I like the course, like I've said a million times. Now that we're sort of moving into this sort of brand new world, a brave new world of LIV Golf, where there's going to be probably less U.S. events. Like, is there really a place for Greenbrier in the LIV schedule? I'd probably say no, because they're focusing more on sort of larger markets that feed a little bit more into their grand plan. So that's the only thing that's like a little bit of a
I
challenge.
think this is the end of Greenbrier.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I think. Look,
I agree.
today isn't a day to go to LIV schedule. I think we'll look at the LIV schedule. Maybe the next show.
Yeah.
Because we've got a few things to discuss today. But yeah, I think Greenbrier is probably the end, and it's going to be 5, maybe 6 events next year in America. They're going to go to. We know they're going to go to. We know they've got another year left in Mexico, which isn't America, but the Americas. We know they've got one more year left in Mexico. I don't think they'll go back to Las Vegas. They've not got a multi-year deal there, so we'll see what happens. I've already said, and I bet my life on it that they will, instead of Vegas, they'll play in New Orleans, where the Super Bowl is going to be. LIV will follow the Super Bowl. It makes such sense. Be the other party in town. Be the other place for people to go and watch sport. So I think that will happen. I think there'll be a course there.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm not sure if that's what's going to happen, though, just because I kind of went through a little bit of the tentative schedule a couple podcasts ago on my solo show, and surprisingly, New Orleans was not on the list. I mean, there were 5 U.S. markets on it. New Orleans wasn't on it. It was, a lot of the usual suspects. One in Texas, Austin, Indianapolis. There was Washington, D.C. right before the U.S. Open, potentially. And then there was, I know I'm missing a couple. There's 5. It might get reconfigured. Not entirely sure how things are going to break. Oh, Nashville obviously is going to be a return spot because that was a hugely successful and popular event. D.C. from a couple years ago or last year was really successful. It was one of their biggest attended ones, and Greenbrier is going to be out. Most likely. The Mexico one, it sounds like they may go to Mexico City. So I mean, there's a lot of things sort of in the ether. Nothing's really been confirmed other than the places that sort of have those sort of longer term contracts. So like the Sentosa and like Adelaide and Hong Kong Golf Club, all those are going to be back on the schedule, and there's probably going to be a couple new ones too.
Yeah, but we said we weren't going to do it, and we'll do it properly later. But I'm very, very sure that they will be going to Japan. I'm very sure. Everything I'm hearing from everyone that knows, Japan's going to happen. But anyway, right, let's move on. Anything else you want to say, Red, about your experience at Greenbrier? Tell you what, I'll do this thing I do with my wife whenever she goes away on holiday. One thing was better than you thought it was going to be.
My driving was pretty good. No, I just in general, the conditions were immaculate. They were a lot. I thought they would be pretty good, but they were high caliber, well-conditioned golf course. So I would say that, and also just the layout was especially nice to see. I think I've spoken about this before, but LIV should kind of go towards these layouts that are more compact and allow people to work around the golf course, because you don't have a lot of time with the shotgun start. So I think that benefited that experience a lot for the people that were there. So
yeah, it's
something that
if you're not going to have a compact course, you've got to do what they did at JCB, which is basically divide the course into 5 sections.
Yeah.
You had a couple of mini loops at JCB. You had a couple of fan village. You had the watering hole, which I can't remember what it's called, the stadium hole,
party hole. Yeah, party hole.
No, it's called Digger In. That wasn't it?
That was part of the party hole.
The party hole was like the Digger In and all that sort of stuff. So unless you're going to do compact, which you're right, Red, you then got to have a big course where you can sort of set up different bits. One thing that wasn't as good as you expected to be about your experience, because there's always something that doesn't quite live up to it.
First of all, the weather definitely a drag. I got rained on pretty good one afternoon when the large storm came through when I wasn't expecting it. So it was interesting to see how like the forecast was always changing, and that made it more difficult to kind of predict those things. And then I would just say probably just the turnout was a little disappointing. I think for such a great venue, and it is further away from some of the populous areas, but I thought more people would possibly make the trip out, and I don't think it really translated. And we talked about this in the spaces, but I had heard from some of the local people on the ground that when they used to have the Greenbrier there, you would get a ticket for the Greenbrier event, plus it would be transactional to the state fair. The state fair was in town. I don't think LIV took that same kind of approach, and it might have been something that could have possibly helped them a little better. And I don't think they need to worry about that anymore with the possibility of not going back. But at the same time, yeah, I think it just would have been nicer to see more people out there. I think they would have enjoyed it. And I think the theater of that final group would have played even better than it did.
Yeah.
There was one guy constantly screaming, "The tour misses you, Rahm." I don't know if you guys picked that
I
up.
did pick up on that.
But I was like, God, I just wish this guy would get drawn out. Like there's just no reason I think he like found a perfect position. I watched back some of the coverage. I was like, he must have found the mic like every time. If I was at home, I would have been livid. It wasn't as bad there, but it still was annoying. And just
I got to
shout out people.
While you're on the subject of Rahm and the weather, I am kind of glad that the weather hit on Friday, because we found ourselves in the middle of a little bit of a controversy. Obviously, last week there was an article, or it might have even been 2 weeks ago at this point, where Jaime Diaz of Golf Digest came out with a very speculative article about how Jon Rahm is allegedly missing the PGA Tour, and he wished he could give like his it isn't $500 million cash, by the way, or his $500 million back. We all knew that was completely false. It was completely fake news. Luckily, we had boots on the ground at Greenbrier that were able to show him the tweet that came out speculating about him, and he just totally laughed it off. I was able to put out that tweet that we got, and it was like in real time we're able to debunk fake news about LIV players, which is something that I think we're going to have to continue to do, sadly, because this is something that's just kind of out there.
Diaz has lost any credibility. Like, one of the things I like least is how he tried to walk it back 7-8 days later. Actually, it might have been a veteran. It might have been this. No. You said who it was without saying the name, and now you're walking back saying, "Oh, he might not, and he might be. It might be a veteran. It might be someone related to the tour." Whatever the walk back was, again, last 10, 12 days, 14 days, I've not been as close to it, but I just remember the walk back was pathetic.
It was bad.
I quite like Jaime Diaz. Hopefully he will recover from this and go back to doing good work.
Maybe.
I just want to say that the other thing about Greenbrier that I find kind of weird, but I kind of love, is I don't know if I love it. A par 3 finish.
No, I liked it. I mean,
I like it too now. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
The built out worked well for it. They did it.
Yeah.
I mean, and actually that you could debate that too. So what they did is they built out the side of the hill where a lot of people had gathered last year, and they made it stands where you could sit all day, and people really enjoyed that. Like I went up there a few times, and people like were in the same seat I had left them a couple hours ago. So like it was clearly an enjoyable space for them to have, and it made a nice atmosphere. But yeah, it's awkward, but I don't know. I think it worked.
Well, yeah. I've always said, what would you rather as a finishing hole? A par 3 or par 5 that's reachable in 2 but with danger?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I just never know. I can't make my mind up, because I'm always thinking a playoff. My brain always goes, okay, what's the best playoff hole?
Yeah. Yeah, I like the variety. I think that, having some courses end on a par 5, some courses ending on a really tough par 4, and some courses ending on a par 3, like, I think if you have 14 events, like, you could easily have, one of all of them. Like, one course, Hong Kong Golf Club obviously ends on a relatively short par 4, except there's a lot of danger. There's out of bounds. There's all sorts of, as we saw from this past year, there's a lot of stuff that can happen on that last hole.
Yeah.
Then we have a par 3 here, and then you have like Royal Greens in Jeddah, that ends on a reachable par 5. That's actually
Great
really,
par five.
really exciting too. And we've had playoffs come down to that one too. So like, I like the variety. I think for this particular event, I think that the par 3 finisher works just because of obviously the lower amount of people. You're able to sort of consolidate everybody sort of in a smaller area. It creates a little bit more of a festive atmosphere. I think that certainly worked for this particular event.
I think the green's an important factor too, with that thumbprint and just kind of the way it makes that back
Yeah.
shelf. We talked about that
Yeah.
as well as like it was a perfect spot. Like you saw Rahm struggle with the club the first time, the second time he thought he was going to lean on the same thing, and then he went over. So it's like that little detail is what made that work better. If they had just put a funnel right in the funnel pin area, it would have been they would have been birdieing it 3 or 4 times around. That wouldn't have been enjoyable. But
Well, look, we got one main event left. There are people in danger of losing their card.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
There are people that maybe deserve to lose their card. There are also people that in Jon Rahm and Joaquin Niemann finishing 15th and Rahm finishing second means that Rahm's leading the pack now. And a big special shout out for me to Sergio Garcia. He's in 4th place, and all barring a total shitting of the bed, Sergio is going to probably finish in the top 5. Which I think is a fantastic result for Sergio this season.
For sure.
But the elephant in the room has to be Jon Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton being in 1st and 3rd place. And really, Tyrrell's going to do very, very very poorly, to not finish in 3rd place. And if he hadn't finished tied 25th, if he'd finished like tied 8th or even tied 15th, he'd have 3rd place all but locked up. So for Jon Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton to both come across, look, adds grist to the mill for those players that say LIV hasn't got any players. Of course it does. But they don't need any grist. Their mill is gristy enough. Now, but let's just say what a fantastic season those two have had. And then we can have a look at some of the people who haven't had the best season in the moment.
Yeah. Completely agree. Like, when I wrote my preview the beginning of the year, once the rosters were sort of finalized for the year, I wasn't sure exactly how Legion was going to perform, just because, you've got 2 of the top 10 to 12 players in the world. I just wasn't sure exactly what we were going to get out of Caleb Surratt and Kieran Vincent. And Kieran Vincent, he certainly hasn't lit the world on fire. Like, he's been, pretty weak. He's 54th in the standings, so he's down there pretty far. However, he just happens to have these strategically timed good rounds when all 4 scores count, and he tends to all he has to do is not shoot 78, 79, 80. If he shoots in that 71, 73 range, all of a sudden you see Legion just creeping up the standing, and it's part of the reason why they've won 4 times this year. And in a lot of ways, they really have been the best team, even though the Crushers are technically number 1 in the standings. Whenever you win 4 events, and it's a razor thin margin between first and second. Crushers are only a half a point ahead of Legion. I think Legion, just having those top 2 players that are constantly just earning so many points week after week after week, it just really stacks them to the very top, and they've got like I said, the best 1-2 punch in the entire league. Whenever you have someone finishing 1st and 3rd, and they are both guaranteed to finish in the top 4 or 5, that's a tough combination to beat. So and it's unfortunately there's been some other teams, like the team that I'm wearing on my head, where I kind of expected them to have that same sort of season as Legion has, having DJ and Patrick Reed as, 2 top, 10 players in LIV. Neither has played like a top 10 player. So it's been hard to see. And then obviously the very, very bottom of the standings, Harold Varner has just not played well. I get that he's been having, a handful of personal problems this year, but it's really totally unacceptable. And I hate for there to be black on black crime, but there is. for him to be 47th in the standings is just totally unacceptable to me. Like, I can't believe he's played as bad as he has this year. He's got one event to pick it up. I really need to see him play better in Chicago. Like, he's got to do something, or else his spot on LIV is probably gone.
Does he look? I don't like ever questioning anyone's commitment. I don't like that because everyone's committed in their own way. He probably feels he is fully committed. I mean, the 3 events this year, I don't ever remember seeing him particularly grinding on the range. I don't ever remember seeing him being in the first few on the range, last few on the range.
Yep.
I just look, Kieran Vincent, right? Scott Vincent and Kieran Vincent, the Vincent brothers, right? Yep. They are in the first 5 to 6 people on that range every single time. Mm-hmm. Those two are working their effing asses off. They want that place.
Yep.
Like when the bell goes to get out on the course and get into your transport, they're dragging the Vincent brothers off there. Now, sometimes we say, you practice too much. Okay, I get that. But equally, if you're playing crap and you're not playing really well, then
you got to work yourself out of it. You got to work yourself out of it.
I don't see that from Harold Varner. Now, he might be doing it elsewhere, but I don't see that. And that's probably. I think I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but
no,
I don't
think you are.
Sorry,
I don't think you're wrong at all. I think you're hitting the nail on the head. And it's it's very hard to sort of speculate.
Same for Pulse, by the way. Same for Pulse. You know I get on with Pulse, right? You with me? Who was the first person every day in the first 5 or 6 people every day on the range, on the practice day, on the pro-am, on the Friday? Who was the first person on the range with his back warmer on and everything? Pulse is there. Like you can go on the list, and the people that are there are grinding like hell. They're just there. Yeah. But Ben Campbell, new to LIV, playing as a fill-in. Ben Campbell never left the effing range.
Yep.
Like John Catlin never left the range. All of Torquay, Pereira, who's playing poorly, and Munoz, who hasn't had the best of seasons in many ways, but a couple, they're all on the range, grinding like hell. Eugenio Sakara, always on the range.
Blandy too, and he's in his 50s. Yeah. Like, I mean,
Double P.
No, I think you're
double P. He might not always be on the range, but I tell you where he always is. He's on the bloody putting green. If not, I reckon I saw Double P in more putts on the putting green than I saw probably the 3 lowest putting players combined. He's there all the time. Like, that's just my point. I don't remember seeing HV3 grinding.
I gotta say too, it's like I don't know how their arrangement works, but if it's billable hours, Claude must like half his salary this season is with Double P. Like, they are always working together. I can't tell you who Harold works with.
Yeah,
he's not. He's not. Whoever it is, I haven't seen them on property.
Right.
And I just, if it's not working this much, you think there would be more things done about it. So. And he's a better player than this. So
that's exactly what I was gonna tap into. Like, look, he was a top 7 player on LIV last year. He won an event. Like, he's super talented. Like, I mean, Harold Varner is one of the top 10 to 15 most talented players on LIV. For him to, I think that there have been, and look, this has been like a criticism from PGA Tour stands this entire time. LIV has been going on about when certain people get the money, they're going to stop working hard on their games, and they're not going to be as good. I don't think that applies to almost any players on LIV. Harold Varner might be one of those exceptions, and like, I got to call him out because it's like LIV has taken so much flack in the media these last 2 years, and like, you have to be mindful of the fact that all of your games are being scrutinized. Like, there's been certain players that have fallen off a little bit, except I know they're working their asses off. I know DJ is out there grinding in the gym all the time, taking it very, very seriously, and he's running a team on top of it. So it's like, when you see things like that, and then you see someone else that you feel like maybe isn't taking it as seriously as everybody else is, like, it's a problem. And it's something that like, it could cost his the spot on LIV next year. and it's something that I'm very, very disappointed in. However, he still has an event to sort of step it up. If he plays really, really well, maybe we'll see him back next year. But like, I don't know.
I don't. He didn't seem to be missed or wanting to be retained by the range goats. He does not seem an active part of the Four Aces. It very much seems to be P. Reed, Double P, and DJ.
Yep.
Is Harold a out-and-out team player, or would he prefer a Hudson Swafford role or an Anthony Kim role where he's on LIV but playing as a single? I'm just saying, is he an out-and-out team guy? It's jarring how little time he's with them compared to every other group.
Yep. Yeah. And I think it's noticeable.
You both seen that?
Yeah. Well, no, especially if you add in the groups that are really tight, like that don't leave their sides, like Ripper, the Stingers are like literally attached to the hip. So comparing that to that.
The range guts now, and the range guts are together all the time.
Yeah.
Bubba's like the dad, and the other three are like brothers. Like they're together all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Torquay as well. Like Torquay.
They weren't like that. They weren't like that when they had Torquay. Torquay like it as well. Fireballs less so. A friend of the show, Eugenio, they do seem to move slightly separately, but still, when it comes to it, they are tight together. But look, I don't want to bash HV3. He seems like a nice fellow. The two times I've spoken to him, but he doesn't seem to be. Maybe earning his way. It looks to me, obviously, there's a question around Brandon Grace. Look, I had my Stingers hat on earlier when I played golf. His Brandon Grace should Brandon Grace be retained by the Stingers if they can get a better South African to come play? Now, I know they're friends, but it is a competition. Yeah. And if you've got Lamprecht, Dukes, Eric Van Nooyen, you've got three South Africans there that are all better than Grace. Should he be retained? Because he's going to have to win his way back on. But let's say he finishes top. So let's work it out. If he finishes top, Christ, he's got to finish top 15. If he finishes top 15,
if he's in the drop zone, he's out. He has no option other than to earn his way back through the international series or through the promotions.
So if he's top 15 on Chicago, he will probably jump out the drop zone into the open zone. Now, if he goes into the open zone, should the Stingers keep him?
I think they probably would keep him at that point, just because I do think that this particular year has been a little bit of an aberration, because I know Brendan Grace has been fighting a little bit of injuries. Like, it isn't a Harold Varner situation where, like we already talked about. I do think that there has been some physical limitations, and that's been kind of a tricky thing all year. I think that's impacted his game. I think Stingers would probably give him another year to get it right. However, look, he's got to finish top 15 at Chicago. I certainly think that he's capable. It seems like at Greenbrier, he was so close to cracking that top 15, top 10 to sort of get out of the drop zone. Except he finished 20th. So I think that he's trending in the right direction. And I don't know what to expect out of him in Chicago. I don't know a ton about the course at this point either, but I would love to see Brendan Grace come back. I'd love to see any of these guys earn their way back, because obviously a lot of these guys.
Look, one thing I'll always say about you, you're player agnostic. You are, if you're good enough, you're in. You want everyone to play well and play in. Now, I'm very conscious that we're already at the 40-minute mark for a targeted podcast on 45 minutes. So let's next week or the week after, let's play a game next week or the week after called How Open is the Open Zone? And I will read down once we know it. And I'll say, let's say the minute it'd be Hughes, Dringale, McDowell, and you can say whether they're going to stay on their team or stay in LIV, but you're not sure which team. And we'll have a play at that. And we'll play at that next week. But I'm very conscious now. I just want to get on to the Zach Johnson is so stupid result from the PGA. Oh no, you know, I like the PGA Tour. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it. But if you ever wanted more proof that Zach Johnson should not be anywhere near a Ryder Cup, Keegan Bradley should have gone to the Ryder Cup in Italy, undoubted.
100%.
Yeah.
Zach Johnson took his little mates. Oh, we're all friends together. We're all friends together. I'm the establishment, and left Keegan Bradley at home. And now Keegan Bradley yet again showing Zach Johnson just how wrong he was. Keegan Bradley has won 3 events in the last 2 years. Yeah. That is a limited company he's keeping.
It's a lot more than Ricky Fowler. I'll tell you
Justin
that
Thomas.
Well, hey, Justin's in the top 30. Come on, he just made it.
JT is playing better. Like, people have been dogging JT for a while. I think JT's been playing slightly better than people think, and he wasn't the reason why the U.S. Ryder Cup team lost. It was Ricky Fowler was probably the most egregious one of, like, oh, he wasn't playing well. We're kind of gifting him the spot, honestly. Like, I mean, Keegan Bradley would have been the better pick. I don't think there's any question about it. So
I have a lot of questions about Sam Burns too. I think that, like, if you're going to bring an emotional support friend for Scotty Scheffler, like,
and it didn't work. It didn't work at all.
So on that, then let's have a look. How far back is too far back? Let's steal that from the no laying up boys, because I actually quite like that. It's about the only segment I do like. Obviously, the ridiculous format of I can't tell you how much I hate this format where one guy starts on -10. I've said it before. Like this event, it should be. I've said it once. I've said it twice. I'll say it again for a millionth time.
So match play.
The Tour Championship should be match play. Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Hideki, and Keegan Bradley, who are the top 4 places, they should be. Top 6 places should be getting buys or whatever. However you would work it out. That's the benefit of finishing there. But at -10, Scotty Scheffler at -10. Is anyone besides Xander at -8 got a chance? Really?
Well, see, I'm going to jump in just because I've been kind of on this block for a while that Scotty Scheffler was going to be approaching a cliff here towards the end of the season. People have been like, oh, because he won the Olympics or he won another event that didn't have a bunch of the best players in the world, that he hasn't hit the cliff. If you look at his stats, if you look at his strokes gain data the last 3 months, he's like over a stroke worse now than he was the middle of the season. So he's already kind of hit a little bit of a cliff in performance. I don't think he necessarily plays well at Eastlake. Like, he's come in here with a lead previously, and he got totally run down by various players, whether it be, Victor Hovland last year. Like, Victor Hovland played great at Eastlake. Xander Schauffele completely dominates Eastlake. Eastlake has been changed a little bit, so I'm very interested to see if it plays similarly to what it has previously. I like Eastlake as a course, though. People are always dogging me. Oh, I hate everything about the PGA Tour. I like Eastlake. I played Eastlake. I played pretty well at Eastlake too, but it's another story.
That's the way he likes it, ladies and gentlemen.
We found it.
Even if I play terribly, even if I played the way I played it, like TPC Sawgrass, totally stunk it up. I would still like Eastlake because there was a lot of components of that course that I like. I don't necessarily love the turf and the grass. I'm not really a big fan of Bermuda, as most people probably know on this podcast, but it's a good course. It's better than people give it credit for. Should this be in Atlanta in basically the middle of summertime? Probably not. Like, it probably needs to be on the West Coast, better weather. I've made this case a million times before. Yeah. But I like Eastlake. So, but I think Xander's definitely the favorite going in.
Well, there's no option. It has to be done before football season. This is, like all professional sports, we cater to other professional sports. That's how it's done. No, but I do think there's some guys back there. You could see Colin, maybe Hideki. I mean, definitely Xander's had so much success here. 2 strokes is like nothing to him. Scotty's going to be tough to catch if Scotty plays Scotty golf. But, I'm excited to see the new Andrew Green renovation. It should be cool, and yeah, it's a tour championship. I think one thing that they are doing, and like at least the tour does well, is that they go back to these events and you have a little bit of familiarity with how the course plays. Obviously, this is going to be different, but now you have the ability to kind of compare and contrast as well. So that I am somewhat looking forward to. Obviously, saying that in one breath and then talking about the BMW Championship that just happened in Colorado is a little bit of a contradiction, but go where the money goes, I guess.
I love the way the PGA Tour run this FedEx Championship where they whittle it down. You get this, then you get the next one, which whittles it down. I really like that. I think that's a really good thing the PGA Tour do. I think it's probably one of the best things they do. I just think that they've got an open goal, and they just miss the open goal of have it as match play for the last event. But there we are. Look,
I do. I have one thing that I'd love to run by you guys, and I know we're trying to wrap up, but how about this? Instead of a match play, Scotty, no handicaps, but Scotty gets to choose the pins all 4 days. That's what you get for being first. You get home court advantage. It's your setup.
It's actually not a bad idea. That's kind of what I've said about the Ryder Cup. The reason why it's just so stacked against the visiting team that the home team's basically going to win every single time.
Yeah.
I do like the idea, if it is match play, having the number one seed be able to pick who he plays, similar to what LIV is doing in their team match play championship. I know that one of the problems with match play is that the PGA Tour is completely mortified that they're going to get a total stinker of a final. You're going to get, Sam Burns against my guy Ben On. Shout out to Ben On. They're just terrified of getting a match. They would love to see a Xander against Scotty to sort of settle who's been the best player on the PGA Tour this year. Except, odds are that you're probably not going to get that. So it's unless you have a way to stack the deck a little bit more in certain players' favor and you're going to have match play, that would be the only thing. Or if you're able to bring in some of the LIV guys and make it a little bit more spicy. There's a lot of things that they can do. And I could spend a whole podcast suggesting what they could do.
The obvious one to me is you give buys to the top 5, 6, 7, 8 players, however you want to mathematically work out. And then those 8 players in descending order get to pick who they play. So Scotty goes, look, I'll play against someone who likes to choke. I'll take Wyndham Clark. I
thought you were going to go Billy Ho. How? No, Scotty's picking Billy Ho first, for sure. No, there's zero chance that Billy Horschel is going to beat Scotty Scheffler in 18 holes. There's no chance.
That would be a way of stacking it. Okay, top 8 players. You now get to pick who you're playing against. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we've managed to go a whole podcast without Jay mentioning Duke, which I think might be the first time. And we didn't manage to go a whole podcast without body bagging Billy Horschel. Right. So I am going to say goodnight, everybody. I've got to be up early tomorrow. I'm going to go and play golf, and I am awful. I played today, and it is coming out badly. On the range, the first 11 shots with a 7-iron, I didn't get in the air. And then my brother-in-law rocked up and went, why are you doing an exercise? Are you deliberately just using your arms? I was like, no. He went, you're not turning. I was like, oh. Started turning and started hitting it again. I was like, where does that come in? Where do you just stop moving your body? Where does that come into your golf game?
Has your putting improved since I beat you on your home turf?
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, lovely to see you. Right, and end this podcast. Good night. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.